This is TWiT.
So here we are in week 2 of the iPhone XS, and as is often the case, there are a few little hitches, minor hitches. Gotchas. The big one right now is the charging issue, right? Somebody called it in the chat room ChargeGate. I don't think it's risen to the gate.
No, you got to gate everything, Leo. If you mispronounce a word, it's a gate.
I asked Jason Snell about this on iOS Today earlier, and he said, yeah, Apple just figures you don't need to fast charge. It's an overnight thing. I don't know. Is that the case? What do we know about this?
So it was what happened was some people noticed that when they plugged in their new iPhone XS, it wouldn't charge if it was already in sleep mode. If they woke it up, it began to charge fine. If it was already awake, it began to charge fine. If they wirelessly were charging it, it was fine. But if it was off, and they plugged it in, it just looked like it wouldn't start charging until they woke it up. And then people started to say, hey, this is happening to me on my newly updated to iOS 12 iPhone or iPad. And, videos were made, bodies were left strewn over Twitter. And then today, Apple pushed out the new update the new beta for iOS 12.1, which addresses it. And they said they found in their testing that some phones just wouldn't engage the charging system, sometimes for long periods of time. The wake up would sort of wake them up and literally get them to engage immediately. And what the fix does is just make sure that the second you put that cable in, that charge system is engaged.
And then the other issue is that it doesn't seem to charge very quickly. Certainly not with the little dongle that comes in the box.
No, the 5-watt.
Who uses the 5-watt? But if you get the USB-C 29-watt charger, even then, it's not a super fast charge.
It'll charge it. So, I mean, Apple is still super conservative in some areas, and one of them is battery and power management. And you don't need to point to other vendors because every vendor has had issues with charging and with batteries over time. So what they do is that you'll find whole pages of scientists telling you why it is incredibly important to never charge wirelessly and never charge quickly, because heat is the enemy of lithium ion, and you are just wasting away precious seconds, maybe minutes, of the lifespan of your battery over a 3-year period. Where I would argue, and I think many other people would argue, that for most people, the amount of convenience you get out of fast charging, even if it costs you like a week of battery life over 3 years, is fine.
Yes.
It's much more important to charge quickly. So what Apple does is they will allow it to charge fairly quickly up to 50% and then shunt it back down to normal charging, because they are sort of wary about the thermal damage that it can do if it's hot. And they also recommend that if you really want to charge fast, take it out of a case or anything like that, because the more heat that generates, the more damage it causes, and they monitor more for the heat than they do for the charge level.
So these people were testing the 29-watt versus the whatever it is, 5-watt or 10-watt. They're looking at the over 100%, but really, if you looked at the first 50%, it would charge faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Significantly faster.
That's probably what you want. You want to plug it in. It's for when you like.
When you're down to 5% and you got to charge while you shave enough to get to the office, and that's perfectly fine. Exactly. Most makers do something like that. I would love to see an engineer write a full book about all the problems we are not aware of to make a modern phone actually work. Among them being, here's how we charge a battery so that it doesn't destroy all the electronics in the case or kill the battery within. Yeah, exactly. It's like. Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
I admit I did have that issue with mine. Does this thing where
you have the XS Max?
Max. And I plugged it in, and I came back later, and I was like, hey, it didn't do anything. And so it was one of those things that I was like, well, I don't know what I did wrong. And I of course I turned it on, plugged it in, and it started charging. So I didn't think about it until they started talking about it. But
you had the sleep problem.
Yeah, I had the sleep problem, but I figured, they'll fix it. It was one of those things, like, it became a big deal online, evidently. But I was like, I'm sure they'll fix this in a .1 or they'll.
As they did.
Yeah, just kind of like, but it's a. I think that overall, though, I guess I don't ever have it go down very much, because I think there's a culture within our company, at least, of having chargers everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my phone has a charger. I've got a battery in my backpack. I've got things everywhere, and I needed it all until I finally took Facebook off my phone. I didn't leave Facebook. I still check, but I just took it off my phone, and it's like suddenly my battery lasts forever. I was like, this is. It used to be I had to charge a couple times a day, and now I'm like,
oh, you look at Facebook Messenger and the battery thing, and it'll say like 5 minutes on screen, 3 hours on the background. It's amazing.
There's a reason why both platforms now do a form of battery shaming. because both people at Apple and people at Google have both talked to me about how hard it is to convince developers collectively that we've given you some wonderful, simple rules to follow that will not kill the consumer's battery. And that's been like a huge program they've been trying to enforce for the last 2 or 3 years. And the only thing that's working is making sure that the world knows, okay, guess what, Facebook? We're telling everybody who complains about our battery problem is going to say, well, delete Facebook. That's like having a 2-pound lead acid motorcycle battery.
I didn't do it for the battery. I literally reached maximum Facebook last week with all the troubles that were happening in DC. I'm in the middle of it. So everyone in the floor that I'm in, that's all they're talking about, because they're all press, for the international press is all there. So that's all anyone's talking about. And then I go to Facebook and that's all anybody's talking about. I was like, okay, I need to stop somewhere. I can't move.
There's one more thing we should point out. Some people still obsess over like charging it to 80%, then letting it discharge to 40%, and then never letting it get too high, never letting it get too low. Modern power management is really, really good. You don't have to do any of that anymore. You might, again, eke out a week extra battery life over 3 years if you do micromanage it. But if you think about all the time it takes you, the effort and stress to micromanage it, you deserve that week of your life back.